I know that in the last video I promised you and myself to try photograph closer to home, closer to Amsterdam, but then I went to Rome. First of all, thank you very much for your response on my video from Trieste. I got many reactions and comments and messages, and it was very nice to see that you've enjoyed it. After Trieste, I went to Rome with my mother, and this was of course a very different trip than Trieste, where I had all the time to fully focus on photography, and in this case I had to shift a little bit more with my time. But I want to show you what I did manage to photograph, and I also want to give you a bit more of an insight of how I take pictures in the street, what are my photographical and moral ethical choices, so to give you more of an idea of my process. So it might be a bit more words and a bit less images, but let's see what I got. We were staying very close to the St. Peter's Church, so we visited it. I took some photos, and by coincidence of people who are working around the church. Actually, for me, it is not so important like what is happening in the picture. It is more about the certain atmosphere or emotion. Rome was preparing for its Jubilee year, and almost every monument was under construction. Luckily, that didn't ruin the atmosphere. The next morning, my mother went to a museum, and I had the morning for myself to photograph, and quite early I came across this scene. I know this is quite a sensitive theme, as a lot of photographers have this rule set, like they don't photograph people who live or sleep on the streets or like street musicians. For me, it is part of street life and it can be photographed, but in this case I'm trying to be even more aware of my position as a photographer towards the people I take pictures of. In this case, I felt it was okay. This person was anonymous, and the scene spoke to me on an emotional level. It kind of embodies a broader theme. The thing is, you never know the stories of people you photograph in public space. When it comes to inspiration, I love to visit these kind of museums like Villa Borghese. It is full of phenomenal sculptures of Bernini, for example. And the last time I was here, I was so inspired. I went out and started to photograph right outside of the museum. In the afternoon, the sun was out, and I was very much trying to catch some of the reflections of people jumping over these water pools. In this case, something more interesting was happening right behind me. I was just fascinated by this apple. It is just these little details that intrigue me. During the day, I was mostly spending time with my mother, but in the evenings, I usually took these solo walks, which I enjoy very much. I'm always fascinated by how birds kind of sit or stay together in groups. And of course, I also have this image from Amsterdam, from my heron series. In this case, I was a bit shocked and amazed of how these birds were all collectively standing still and looking at this man. We also went to Naples, Napoli, It is one of my favorite cities, but it is also a city with a different rhythm, a different atmosphere for various reasons. It always takes me a bit more time to feel the atmosphere, to kind of sense if it's okay to photograph certain areas, certain people. And in this case, I simply didn't have enough time to do that. I tried to photograph this man, but he was too aware of the camera. Hopefully I can come back once, as Napoli is quite something. The last morning in Rome, I did my final round with my zoom lens. I am happy to have spent valuable time with my mother, and she also gave me space for myself and to photograph, which I value a lot as well. So I guess it's always about the balance.